Asia's past, present and future comes together. Race to feed the world as scientists, farmers and entrepreneurs solve the impending food crisis. Journalist Yuma Raki unveils the transformation of Japan's social and political identity in Deciphering Japan, and relive the history of the Chinese Communist Party as it marks 100 years of existence. This June on CMA.
Myanmar opening its doors to the world, but still much work is needed. The journey hasn't been easy, with pressure from within and without. Twists and turns line the way, but even when it's down, this country never stops trying. This is a country that can bank on its people. People who have the power to chart Myanmar's path, and people who have stories to tell the world.
Further disruptions for schools in Myanmar in the aftermath of February's military coup. More than 125,000 school teachers have reportedly been suspended for joining a civil disobedience movement to oppose the takeover of power. And this comes a week before registration opens for the start of a new school year. Some teachers and parents already say they will boycott classes and vow to keep up with their campaign against the military. Students at the forefront of daily protests have also said they plan to boycott school. According to an official of the Myanmar Teachers Federation, the military imposed the suspensions as a warning for people to go back to work. Nearly 20,000 university staff have also been suspended. Myanmar has been in turmoil since the February coup and the arrest of elected leader Aung San Suu Kyi. Activists claim more than 800 people have been killed in deadly crackdowns on protesters. But military leader Min Aung Hlaing denies it, saying it's an exaggerated estimate and that the real death toll is about 300. Egyptian mediators are seeking to uphold a day-old ceasefire between Israel and Palestinian militants. Both sides are now assessing the damage from 11 days of hostilities, as many around the world show outrage at the violence.
From London to Paris to Jordan, hundreds and even thousands of pro-Palestinian demonstrators marched over the weekend to protest against Israeli airstrikes on the Gaza Strip as a ceasefire between Israel and Palestinian militants came into force. In London, some demonstrators were draped in Palestinian flags and set off green and red smoke flares as they called for sanctions on Israel. British police made 2 arrests on Saturday in London after scuffles broke out near the Israeli embassy. Over in Paris, hundreds of supporters of Palestinians gathered Saturday calling for France to cut ties with Israel. One protester said she was there to support Palestinians who she said have been oppressed in their own country for many years. Demonstrators in Queens, New York also took to the streets to show their support. On Friday, thousands of Jordanians gathered next to the Israeli border in solidarity with Palestinians, while tens of thousands in Pakistan marched in support, with Prime Minister Imran Khan applauding the rallies across his country, saying international public opinion was tilting in favor of the Palestinians. A bomb blast, however, killed 6 people at one rally in southwest Pakistan. Earlier on Friday, a ceasefire mediated by Egypt ended 11 days of hostilities, during which the Israeli military pounded Gaza with airstrikes. Israel said it was responding to rockets fired by Palestinian militants. Gaza medical officials said 248 people were killed in the Palestinian enclave, with aid officials concerned about the humanitarian situation there. In Israel, health officials said 13 people were killed in the hostilities.
At least 21 people have died after extreme weather hit runners taking part in a 100-kilometer cross-country mountain race in China. 8 others were injured. More than 170 people took part in the marathon held in the Yellow River Stone Forest in Gansu province. Runners encountered hail, freezing rain, and strong winds during the high altitude stage of the race yesterday afternoon. The extreme weather forced organizers to eventually stop the competition, and by early this morning, around 150 participants were safely evacuated. Temperatures in the mountainous terrain dropped overnight, making search and rescue more difficult. Some 700 rescuers were deployed to look for 5 missing runners who have since been found dead. Elsewhere, thousands have fled a volcanic eruption in the Democratic Republic of Congo. A river of boiling lava from Mount Nyiragongo was heading towards Goma City following the volcano's first eruption in 2 decades. But the region's military governor says the city in the country's east has been spared. While it stopped short of the city, the eruption caused plenty of damage. Lava spilled onto a major highway and set homes on fire. There is no immediate word on any casualties, and lack of official reports from authorities and conflicting accounts circulating on social media are adding to the chaos. The government has activated an evacuation plan, but many have already fled on foot in hopes of crossing the Rwandan border just outside town.
Hapa huku ni hatari kabisa, moto inakuwa hatari, nyumba zinaungua, watu wanateseka. Shida iko kabisa kabambi sana volka. Hatukuwazia kama inaweza kukua hivi. Lakini kwa muda tunaona shida kabisa, watu wanaunguziwa sana, watu wanakimbia, hawana makao. Tunakutana kabisa moto, hapa tuko karibu na moto. Hapa niko pembeni ya moto kabisa.
Britain's aircraft carrier has departed England's south coast for a world tour that will last about 7 months. The HMS Queen Elizabeth, accompanied by a fleet of warships, will make a number of port calls in Asia, including ones in Japan and South Korea. The strike group will also sail through the disputed South China Sea. The dispatch is expected to boost Britain's presence in the region and respond to China's growing assertiveness. Queen Elizabeth visited her namesake carrier yesterday before its maiden voyage. And that's Asia now for this hour. Headlines anytime at cna.asia. You can also find us on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Thanks for watching.
Look forward to brighter skies. The weather, sponsored by Qatar Airways.
The weather, sponsored by Qatar Airways.
Breaking news.
Chanting for Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha to step down.
We will be seeing sporadic protests flare up from time and time again.
Key developments.
37th ASEAN Summit.
Live events. Analysis and perspectives.
We will really be seeing vaccines soon.
Imports, which were expected to grow slightly, contracted 2.1%.
News that matters. Asia Now, daily. On CNA.